Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, and thank you for joining me today. And if you remember my most recent upload, I had really beautiful winter conditions. But today it's like 0 degrees Celsius, so all of that beautiful winter conditions are melting away. So today I want to talk about a camera. We will do some landscape photography later on, but first I want to tell you a story, a trip down memory lane, if you will. And I want to talk about this camera, the Nikon D800E. And you might think, why do you have this camera when you have the Nikon Z system? But actually this isn't my camera. It was my camera, but I gave it to my mother like, it must have been maybe 7 years ago or something like that. And so I borrowed it from her just to have a quick chat about it, because it's quite a interesting story. Actually, I really remember this time. It was back in 2012 when this camera was released, and I was doing mostly bird photography at that time. And I had a Nikon D90 with a 80 to 400 zoom lens. I was quite happy with that, but I had just recently got a new job and starting to earn some more money. So when all the fuss and talking was going on that Nikon was about to release a new camera, I was really excited, and I hoped it would be a camera for me. So yeah, and I remember this like it was yesterday. My nature photography hero back then was Jim Brandenburg, an American natural geographic legendary photographer, and I watched a video with him on YouTube when he sat down in that chair, and I thought it might have been Grace of Ministers or that did that interview, and he was really excited about this camera, and he was shooting Hasselblad 4x5, maybe I think it was digital, but it was a really big camera, and he was so excited about this high resolution camera in a smaller format, and he was gonna get two D800Es, and I thought, yeah, I'm gonna get one of those cameras as well. I was really excited. So time went by, and it was time for release date. And I remember I called all the retailers in Sweden and like, do you have it in stock? Because I imagined it would be in high demand. So I called them every day and see if they had it in stock. And one day I got a positive answer. Yes, we do. And it must have been one of the first batches that arrived to Sweden, so I was really lucky. I was one of the first in Sweden to have this camera. Really lucky. And so I ordered it, and I waited maybe 3 or 4 days. And I also remember going to the post office and to get it. And back then you had to pay in cash up front when you collected your package. So I had it in cash. I paid in cash, and the employee at the post office asked me, "What's inside? What have you paid so much money for?" I believed it was almost $3,000, 28,000 Swedish kronor, and I had it cash. And I told her it's a camera, and I don't think she really believed me. So yeah, that was a short story of how I got this camera, and I had it for maybe 3 or 4 years. I was really happy with this camera. 2012, it sounds like it was recent, but it's quite a long time ago. And yeah, back then I did mostly bird photography. But this guy, Jim Brandenburg, he really inspired me to do landscape photography. And this camera was perfect for that. 36 megapixels, and it had much better dynamic range than my D90. I was so excited to start doing photography with this. And yeah, time went by. I really did a lot of beautiful landscape photography with this camera, and later on I got the Nikon D800E. That's when I gave this camera to my mother when I upgraded. But I don't have that camera either. The D810, I sold that and got the Nikon Z7. This one. So this is my main landscape photography camera right now, the Nikon Z7. It's a completely different system. This is the Z mount and this is the F mount system. And at first I thought, why not make a comparison between these two picture quality, image quality with dynamic range and sharpness. I have a F to Z adapter, so I can use this 50mm lens on the Z7, but I don't think we will see much difference in picture quality. And I realized that maybe most Nikon shooters haven't moved on from the F-mount system. So maybe you have some doubts or questions about moving on to the Z system. So today I'm not gonna do a comparison in picture quality. I'm gonna do a user experience type of video. What's the difference in the user experience between these two cameras? So, and I only have one lens for this camera, the 50mm f1.8. So I'm quite limited to what I can photograph, but that's a challenge. Now I'm not really an experienced tech reviewer here on YouTube. My videos are 99% photography on location type of videos where I talk about compositions and how beautiful nature is and so on. And I can only speak for Nikon gear. That's the only brand that I've been using. But I do believe that most of the things that I'm gonna talk about in this video, they are the same no matter what the brand are, like Canon, Sony, Fujifilm. The differences between mirrorless and a camera with a mirror, they are going to be the same. The first thing I want to mention is the difference in sizes between the camera bodies. And this D800E is really built like a tank. It's really bulky and heavy and big, whilst this is much more slim and lighter. I would say it's about 250, 300 grams difference in weight. And weight really adds up when you're packing all your camera gear. So that's really important for me as a landscape photographer. I don't want to carry that much extra weight. So just comparing the two camera bodies, that's a really nice advantage with the mirrorless system. And another difference between the two camera systems are the video recording performance. When I had the D800E, I didn't even consider doing video. I tried it a few times, sure, but I was really bad. The resolution is 1080p at max, and was a really bad video quality. But on the other hand, when I got the Nikon Z system, I was really excited about doing videos. I was out doing landscape photography, but I could also just take video clips of birds or waterfalls, just for fun. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I got into YouTube and making photography videos like I do nowadays, because I got the Nikon Z system and the video quality was so much better. But there aren't only advantages with the Z system. There are actually one thing that's much worse, and that's battery life. When I had the Nikon D800E, I could be out a whole day, well actually maybe a whole week, doing landscape photography without replacing or recharging the battery. But on the other hand, with the Z system, I can maybe do 200, 300 stills. So I always have an extra battery, and since I do a lot of video as well, that's really drains the batteries. So battery life, not as good as the F-mount system. And the biggest difference between the two systems is the viewfinder. The F-mount has an optical viewfinder, and that means when you're looking through the viewfinder, you're gonna see exactly what's in front of you. The light, if it's dark out, you're gonna see a dark image. If it's bright, you see a bright image in the viewfinder. And with a mirrorless camera, you got a EVF, or an electric viewfinder. And that means the image you see in the viewfinder is a virtual image. It's translated into pixels. So when you look through the viewfinder, you will see a virtual image of reality. And that means that when you're changing your settings, exposure settings, the image in the viewfinder is going to change with the settings. So that's really, for me, a really big advantage with the mirrorless system. You can, I mean, if it's some wildlife, you can really get the exposure right without even thinking about light metering or anything like that. What you see in the viewfinder is how the exposure is going to be on the final image. So that's a real big advantage of the mirrorless system. And when I first got the Z7 and I looked through the viewfinder, I could really see the pixels. It was not a really good experience, I must say. But that feeling went away really, really fast. Just a couple of hours in the field, and later on I didn't really see the pixels anymore. So I really enjoy the EVF nowadays. But I understand that many who has an optical viewfinder F-mount system are hesitant to move to a mirrorless camera, because that's a really, really big difference actually. And I wish I could show you the difference on screen for you, but I can't do that. So I advise you to go to a retailer and look through an EVF. And the EVF nowadays are much better than on the cameras that I have, the Z7 and the Z6. I mean, with the Z8 or a ZF, or what's the newest, Z6 III, those EVFs are much better. I haven't looked for them. I have looked at many reviews on YouTube, and they are all really, ooh, it's so much better nowadays with the EVF. But I get it. I mean, some of you don't want that virtual image, so really enjoy the optical viewfinder. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we all have our different preferences, what we like and so on. But for me, it's been a big advantage with the EVF when it comes to actually both wildlife and landscape photography. So those are the main differences between the two systems that I can think about right now. So now let's go and shoot with this camera, with the Nikon D800E. And as I said in the beginning of the video, I haven't used this in a while, so it's gonna be fun and interesting. And I'm gonna change location, so I see you in a little while. Let's do some landscape photography. Well, good morning, and what a beautiful morning it is. But I'm a little bit late on location. I should have been here maybe an hour ago. Those really saturated colors will be gone in maybe 20 minutes, so I don't have time to find a composition. But that's all right. This is a nature reserve, not that far from where I live, so I know this place quite well. So I do think I can find some photos here today. I'm not going to focus my attention to the sea in this photo shoot. I'm going to go back up in this woodland, because with this fresh powder of snow and this pine and spruce woodland, I do think I can find a photo here. So let's go back from where I came. I really love this woodland. There's some really nice spacing in between the trees. Like this really nice pine tree here, and I've got those lone spruces in between. Really nice here. So now I just have to find a composition. Light is a little bit flat, but I think I can make it work anyway. And as I mentioned yesterday, I only have the 50mm lens, but I think that's fine as well. So let's keep going. It's really, really beautiful here. So I've found a decent composition with this little trail that leads into the forest, and the spacing in between the trees are really nice. And this is just to get things started. I'm not used to shooting with this camera. Alright, let's power it up. Nice. So I've framed the shot, and I can't show you the image in the optical viewfinder, but this Nikon D800E has a feature that I've actually forgotten about. It has a live view. If I press this button, we go to a live view of the composition. And this is also a artificial image of reality. So this is what you will see in an EVF. If I change the exposure like this, you will see it goes up and down, bright and dark. So that is really a good representation of what you will see in an EVF. And I will change some settings. I've gone to manual focus, and I've also changed to a self-timer, 2-second self-timer, just to reduce some vibrations from the tripod and so on when I take the shot. And since I'm in manual mode, I'm going to use the live view to set the focus. So I'm just going to zoom in on this tree trunk right here. It looks like this already in sharp focus. Let's check it. And zoom out. And press the shutter with 2-second self-timer. Could you hear the mirror flipping up and down? I'm not used to that sound. It was nice to hear it again. I was talking about battery life yesterday, and now I'm almost completely out of battery in this camera. That's on me. I should have checked it before I left my home. But there's one thing that I forgot to talk about yesterday. So there's one more feature with the mirrorless camera that I want to talk about. And that feature is IBIS, in-body image stabilization. And that means that the mirrorless system has a stabilized sensor. And that means that you can adopt any lens from the F-mount system to the Z-mount system, and you get stabilized lenses. This lens, for example, doesn't have VR, and the D800E doesn't have VR. So if you're a landscape photographer and using a combo like this, you probably will be using a tripod all the time. But with the mirrorless system and the IBIS, you can take this lens, put it on this camera, and you get a stabilized camera with a lens that's also stabilized. And that means that when you have enough light, you can leave your tripod at home and take some handheld shots. I have a tiny bit of battery left in the camera, so let's go a little bit further along this trail and see if I can find at least one more image for today. But this truly is a trip down memory lane. I almost tear up when I shoot with this camera. I have so much memories, good memories with this camera. And I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. And I found a real nice composition here. And I'm not going to use the live view anymore. It drains the battery too much. So I'm just going to press the shutter. I've already framed it. And that's a different sound from when I captured the photo from live view. It's a completely different sound. Alright, I hope you enjoy this photo. So that was a short but really enjoyable photo shoot, and it's time to go back home, return this to its rightful owner, my mother, and will I see it again? Probably, but it's gonna be a long time in between. I will be able to use it in the field. I'm also enjoying my Nikon Z7 a lot, so probably not gonna focus so much on the F-mount system in the future. So I would really love to hear your story. Have you moved from F-mount to Z-mount? Are you thinking about it? Have you any questions? I would love to hear your story, so leave a comment down below. And give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Alright guys, thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.